Welcome to Amplified 2026. This is a special one. I have with me some of the minds behind the many games that you have come to love here by Amplitude. And this year marks the studio's 15th anniversary, quite the milestone. So this year, not only today, but during the entire year, we have quite a few things planned for you. So stick around today for what we have to say, but also keep an eye out for the rest of the year because we're going to be talking about a lot of things. Announcements, in-depth looks, behind the scenes, all that kind of stuff. For today, we have a few things on the docket. We're going to talk about what it means for this studio to be 15 years old, a kind of a little retrospective. Arnaud is going to give us a little concert. Last year, it was a highlight for me personally of the live stream, so I'm excited to see that again. And we are going to have some segments on Humankind, Endless Space 2 and its newest patch, and of course, Endless Legend 2, and it is its ongoing early access. A little bit of housekeeping. We have some stretch goals like we like to do every year for time spent playing the game in the next few days, I think, few weeks. So the goal is if you reach 80,000 hours playing all of the Amplitude games, you get a wallpaper pack for the entire community that you can find on the Games Together website. 175,000 hours, which sounds huge, but really it's not that much. When you get, when you see the amount of people who play these games, that's going to give you the Saiadha map for Endless Legend 2 and Endless Space 2 DLC free on Games Together if you reach 250,000 hours. So get playing. Open up your favorite game on the second screen while you watch us talk about history, the history of the studio, and some history with Humankind, actually. And also, from now until the 2nd of February, check out our Steam sales. We have some pretty incredible sales, up to 80% off. So check it out. And just before you ask, no sales on Endless Legend 2. It is not even out yet. So we'll stick to sales on everything else, but it's pretty substantial. So if you don't have a game yet, now's the opportunity to get into it and get those hours rolling in for the community goals. Okay, so let's focus up on this year's events. 15-year anniversary. Can you each introduce yourself? Romain, Jean-Maxime, and Jeff.
So I'm Romain de Waubert. I'm the CEO of Amplitude and one of the founders.
I'm Jean-Maxime, Chief Creative Officer at Amplitude, and I've been here for 8 years.
Hi, I'm Jeff Spock. My title is Narrative Director, but internally I'm known as the Lore Meister. I'm also one of the co-founders from back when we set the place up 15 years ago.
All right. Well, it's been quite the journey so far.
15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
That's a big number. Congratulations.
Well, especially when you are an indie studio, you take it really 1 year at a time, and each time you feel like it's the last year. So give it all, So we've been like that for 15 years. So it's always did not imagine one day I would be here with you guys to say 15 years, and can't wait to say 30 years. But
15 more.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
So tell me about the early days. How has it changed since then?
The thing I remember about making the first game, actually creating the universe, that's what mostly Romain and I did a lot at the beginning was, we're like, if the first game bombs, that's too bad. But if we make enough money to do a second game, it'd be good if we had, a pretty solid universe to do the game in, to set the second game in. So that's what we did. We said, well, let's build this universe. And then the first game came out and people are like, where's the universe? It was like not visible in Endless Space 1, but it's come along since then.
Well, we did write like hundreds of pages of universe.
So many pages.
Just
of
we never shared
lore.
it with anyone. So,
like stacks of it.
yeah, but we're very happy.
And how much of it is visible now?
As
much?
little as possible. It's you try to. It's the tip of the iceberg is what's visible. Let's put it that way.
Well, I always say, when you, I build a lot of things and I create a lot in video games. I like to have a story for my internal thought process, even if I don't share it. I know why it's this way or that way. There's a logic behind it.
Right.
You don't have to share it all as long as it's there to inform
The head canon. The head canon.
The head canon.
Right. Exactly.
So what was the studio like back 15 years ago? The atmosphere, anecdotes. Tell me, give me the tea.
Well, we were like 12 people at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think, including the interns.
Yeah,
I think
day
it was.
one we were 12, I think. Yeah.
But, we realized that it would be a good idea to have a few young crazy students, because honestly, they could have had jobs at real jobs, and they came with us. So
They took the leap of faith. Yeah.
and the worst is they were just amazing, and most of them are still here today. I think we were lucky at the time. But anyway, so yes, it was basically 7 of us and 5 interns.
Yeah.
And basically all extremely motivated.
Yes.
Again, it could be the last year each time. So we had barely a year of cash, I think, to go on. And when we shipped, Endless Space, I think we had something like around 1,000 euros on the bank account. Well, we couldn't wait any longer, so we had to ship it anyway. So
The ship date was very clear, right? We have this much money. It's going down, so that's the ship date.
And
There's
the
no
thing
other
is,
option. Yeah.
I did not want to ship it. We didn't have the choice, but I was sure the game wasn't finished. We had to spend more time on it, and basically I was really freaking out. It was someone from the community who had to come to the office to tell me, it's fine.
It's ready.
You can ship it,
Yeah.
Really, you sure? And I think it was the beginning of this relationship with with the community of trying to because it was our first 4X, right? As creators, but not as gamers, but to have other people not in the midst of the creation to guide us, tell us if it's good enough,
Right.
if it's interesting, fun, boring, so we had a bit of everything, so it was amazing to be able to create that relationship.
We had experienced people who had done lots of games before. We'd never done a 4X. Not a single person on Endless Space 1 had ever done a 4X, I think. Right?
It is intimidating, for
Yeah.
us.
Oh, yeah.
It
It's
is.
so complex.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We were jumping off the deep end. For that.
So why 4X then?
Well, we were big fans as players, obviously, of 4X, and I think what we believed at the time is that it was a genre that was really evaluated. Each time when undervalued, when we played at home, for example, when I was playing my 4Xs at home, I have to admit I was a bit ashamed to show what I was playing.
Really?
They were really ugly.
Wow, okay, yeah.
Nobody could understand anything on the interface. It was and could have people look at me playing and say, "What the fuck?"
You're playing
Really?
a spreadsheet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Are you really spending like 2 hours a day playing this? I was, well, it's amazing, but it was all happening in my mind.
It's a headcanon again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of
Exactly.
us were happening in our mind. So anyway, so that's why we thought that, and we were saying that actually some of these 4Xs, although they were really not good looking, really not accessible, were selling quite well, and we had access to some numbers, and we thought, hey, actually, what if, if we decide to do something as deep, but spend a bit more time on the art side, on the lore and all that. So I think that was the beginning of that. So it was okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe we have something there. We also were witnessing, Steam and the success of Steam. We thought
Right.
if we were combine, our dream games, which would be a 4X, beautiful 4X basically, and Steam. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. And so, what did you have a number in mind that you were hoping to hit?
Yeah.
In the early days?
Oh yeah. We had a whole business plan. We're so sure. Well, actually, first came to see a partner and told them they should really invest in us. And if they did invest in us, maybe we could hit 200,000 copies. And I thought it would be, wow, dude, that's amazing. And well, what he told us was, really? Why do you want me to bother with this? I was like, well, okay, I think we should create our own studio. And so we realized that 200,000 was maybe too much. So we had to aim at a smaller number. And the number we were aiming at, we knew that at 30,000 copies, we would pay back the game. So we had to gain a bit more money to be able to pay for the next game. So the target was 60,000 copies.
Okay.
And yeah, so obviously and the space.
It worked.
Yeah.
How many in the end?
I mean, all of them has more or less sold like over a long time period.
Sure.
For some of them, but over 2 million copies each. So
Wow.
or 2 million players. You know, when you take Game Pass and stuff, you know, it goes beyond. But so it's we did not expect that at all. So you know, and,
No, that was a pleasant surprise.
yeah.
But the community was right. And when you said, we don't think it's ready to ship, they said, yeah, you could probably ship it.
Yeah, I think they were right.
We love you guys.
And Jean-Max, what was your kind of impetus to join the studio? What motivated you?
So actually, I mean the ground zero in a way of Amplitude was Ubisoft. In a department called third parties, where you worked, Mathieu worked,
You worked.
I worked,
Max worked.
Max worked,
Corinne worked.
Corinne
Corinne worked. So you know, it was basically a Ubisoft offshoot in a way. So I basically co-founded another studio, another French studio in '08, Don't Nod Entertainment. Did Remember Me, Life is Strange, and then and before that I was working with Romain on a PS3 exclusive that was being developed. Stop laughing.
I will always laugh. I'm sorry.
It was a PS3 exclusive called Haze.
Yes.
It was developed in Nottingham in the UK, and we went there every week. We were sat next to the fridge in the basement, basically. That's how much
Where
they
nobody
liked.
could
They liked the
see us.
publisher.
Valued members of the team.
Yes,
Yeah.
like all valued members of the team, you know. But we had, you know, there was food and a toilet, so you know, what more? What else? And so we became friends. Downed so many beers. The oldest pub in England is in Nottingham, so we went there a lot.
What was the name of the pub?
I read it up, and it's actually a very disputed claim. It was called Ye Old Trip to Jerusalem.
What?
Yes.
Really?
How does that fit on the sign?
It's,
pub.
The old trip
yeah,
to
if you like.
Jerusalem.
And we stayed in touch, and you know, became friends and stayed in touch over the years, and you know, met in '06. And I joined in 18, so 12 years of basically staying in touch. You know, I was following the Amplitude adventures. He knew what was happening at Don't Nod, and then at some point I left Don't Nod, went to work for IO Interactive on Hitman. And then, so yes, I look like Horatio and Agent 47, and came back and
No, he was not the model for Horatio, in case anyone's asking.
I was not the model, but I'm the bearded Horatio. So basically, at some point, I was available, and Amplitude was growing. Humankind 1 was in the works, had not been announced yet. It was called Mercury. And I joined as an EP, executive producer, and basically, you know, over the next 8 years, I, you know, went further and further into the depth of 4X and roguelite, and became creative director and chief creative officer, and that's me today, working on all aspects of our games, all the creative aspects, so gameplay, but also narrative, art, audio, animation, everything, really. And
Making sure
it's
the
great.
games don't ship on time.
I'm responsible. I'm the chief responsible
Delay
for,
officer.
chief delay officer is probably
Oh,
Primary job is to fight with production. That's, you know.
yeah.
I like that title.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you know, titles and names and all that are important. You know, we talked about this pub that has a very strange name. I believe, Jeff, you have a very interesting list of names
Oh, yeah.
that I'd
when
like you to share. They're fascinating.
we were kicking around, you know, we're doing a stream for our 15th anniversary. So I was going back, looking at these old emails from when we were founding the company 15 years ago. And I found like this list of the final names we came up with for what we wanted to name the studio. Everyone is, so it was stuff like, I mean, some were really off the wall. Happy Plague. Yeah, I have no idea who came up with that, but it was on the short list. The Foundry, the Factory, Artifactory, Pulsefire, Unlimited. Interesting. And then one was this one more. No, that's it.
I
Just
like
one
one
more.
more.
Not one more time, one more chance,
one
one more
more.
turn, just one more.
One more beer.
I didn't even think of that one. But it's funny because a lot of people had number one choices, but everybody's number two was Amplitude. So that was the one that sort of it won the vote kind of by default, but today we're very happy.
What an
with it.
inspiring story.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. Can we cut and retake that bit? Yeah.
It was number one for everyone. It was,
So that's,
Yeah.
anyway, that's where that came from.
Well, yeah, I think Amplitude is the one that works best with all your criteria of French and English.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you when we talked about it, you said something positive. So I
Yeah.
think that's happy plague, but it's still a plague.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's right. Like the idea was, I think we want to find something snappy, working, yes, exactly, in two languages, and positive. I think we love the idea of, because we wanted to make big games. Forex is a big game,
Sure.
and to have the idea of that, hugeness,
Yeah.
in the game, in the name of the studio, I think was a bit of the idea, and I think I clicked very quickly when you came up with Amplitude. The only problem that we had when we tried to keep the name for us, we realized there were a lot of music studios
Of course.
called Amplitude.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, there was a bit of
The
confusion on that
little
side.
studios.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Amplitude
And a video
Dash
game, a
Studios.
music video game called Amplitude.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it was the first game by the guys that did Guitar Hero. Next.
really?
I think so. Not sure. Someone on the chat must know.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Now we're going to get sued by these guys. It's like, oops. Oh, thank you.
Oops.
And what else did we find in archives? Anything else? We've got names, and I do believe we've got a couple photos as
Yeah.
well from the early days.
So we
From
don't-
Oh, we
whenever-
got.
we
we
don't
got-
see on
Can
the
we
screen.
show
So
those?
Yeah, screen is frozen. I
Yeah,
hope
ours-
it's on.
Our screen is frozen, but I think it's fine.
So
oh god.
I don't know if
Uh-oh,
I don't know if you
Salterius
can
is
see
laughing.
them,
So
but in
not sure what
theory-
you're saying, guys.
so we've got two photos. One of which is Romain painting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was heard a very good painter.
Yes, such a good painter. Then it's probably the last time I ever painted a place, because you could still see, the traces of me painting on the walls after a year or two.
Ah, there
you
he is.
go.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
Carefully employed. That's
That's
right. Look at that.
It's funny
2002.
because it looks like I'm going to whack someone. It's like getting
You
the
know-
place ready.
It looks
going
like,
to eliminate.
someone from a Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yes,
You're like
that's it.
cleaning up afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not red enough for that.
Yeah. That's before,
Dexter.
And we've got another photo, I think.
What was that?
It's also painting. Yeah, there you go. Hard at work.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. When it's a small team, you do everything.
Yeah, and there was a recruitment interview, So, oh, you want a job? Okay, start painting.
No,
So-
come on.
Man, he still wants to stay with us. No.
So back then, when it was, you said 12 of you, and you had already hundreds of pages of lore, how could you imagine, or what did you think was going to happen to this universe that you were building? Now so many games in.
So I was convinced, unlike some of our players for the first game, but I was convinced, that it would make the difference between our game and games and other forexes. Yes, of course, everyone said they could barely see a universe in the game, but it was a bit of a fail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think today, if you look at Past and the Space One, I think this definitely makes a difference. You want, you want to dive in that universe, live that universe, and it makes you a reason to want to win the game. I mean, you're fighting for. It's not for numbers, but for people.
You've got a stake.
What you do has a meaning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it has a
Yeah.
stake. So I think that's.
That was really important. The idea that we want to make a huge universe that you could play sort of any genre of game, any dramatic genre. We could do horror in it. We could do romance. We haven't. Maybe there's a lot of horror elements in the dungeon games. But anyway, so we wanted to have that kind of scope and, dare I say, amplitude to the universe. So it's been a lot of fun working on it. And should take another moment to thank the community for all the great input and ideas they've had on the universe, the co-creation stuff.
Still have.
It's been phenomenal. Yes. Yeah. Still
I was just about to ask, how does that feedback, how did it work back then? How does it work now? Where did the kind of idea of having such a relationship with the community come from?
It's again, it goes back to what we were saying a bit earlier. You know, it's impossible, I think, to work on the 4X without. Well, if you never worked on the 4X before and you always need to start, you need to have some help around you. And the games are so deep, you know, like, well, to play just one game, you know, of endless space, it could take you like 8 hours, 10 hours. It takes a while to work on all the balance. You need to play hundreds of games. So yeah, you need more than one brain to even 12 brains to really get it out. And these games are a lot about, you know, the definitely the balance, the details, you know, and yeah, you could miss some of that. So that's why from the very beginning we knew we had to do that with our players. And I think we also love the idea of losing a bit of control and sharing that, you know, creation with others, and to maybe able to take our games to places where we would not have taken them ourselves, and basically, you know, as you create the game, you know, it becomes something new and common. And I think one of the anecdotes that we have on that side is, you know, the first co-creation faction we had. I forgot the name of that.
The automatons in Space One.
Was it the automatons?
I think that was the first one.
That was the first one?
Yeah.
Then the second one.
Just like the studio name.
Yeah, so okay, let's get another one. Well, anyway, one of the factions we have created.
The cultists and the Surgeon, maybe, or
well, I mean,
got the whole list.
all of them are basically factions we would never have created
Never
ourselves.
thought of them.
And most of them, if not all of them, tend to be some of the fans' favorite. So that's where it is interesting. Is like basically how strong we can be when we create together. But it is tough as a creator of games, because it does bring a lot of unknown about, you know, what, when, and so it's hard to share that creation with especially unknown people, because you know, you don't know all the people who will contribute.
I play a lot of creative games, and I share that content, and I love doing it on live stream, because I get that immediate feedback, and I definitely have I get lots of ideas that I wouldn't have had by myself, and that really improve what I'm building. So having that input is so valuable. And Jean-Max, what was it like? Because that started with the studio right away, but you didn't join the studio right away. What was it like seeing it from the outside before you joined?
It felt like I think what they did was very bold, and they were at the same time humble enough to realize that they couldn't do it by themselves. And I was just amazed by the fact that they did it. You know, I mean, you have to imagine being in painting that and those rooms, and there's not much more there, and to be where we are today with this timeline and all these games, it doesn't happen overnight. And the community has been basically the spine to our growth. And today, I think it's just the best. I mean, to be able, as you said, to get feedback and to test your ideas, and before you actually, jump off the deep end, is incredibly valuable. Huge thank you to the community for the past and the future.
Well, as always, it's going to be a recurring theme today. It's such a big part of the DNA of the studio, so we'll keep talking about it throughout today's live stream, and I'm sure every other event during the year. Listen, guys, we could do this all night, couldn't we?
Yep.
Have this conversation. I know the community would love it as well, but we do have an agenda. Okay. So as much as I would love to keep you here with me, I think it is time for a little concert.
Cool.
Very cool. Yeah, music in Amplitude Games is such a staple, such a strong identity. So thank you so much to all three of you for being here with us, sharing those early day stories. That's I think it's really lucky to get that. Those stories from back then when maybe it wasn't so well known. Thank you so much, and we'll catch up with you during the year. I'm sure you'll have lots more things to tell us with Endless Legend 2 coming out soon. It's been great.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And now,
Yep.
Arnaud.
And now we're going to listen to Arnaud. First, quick little video again, just remind ourselves what 15 years means for the studio.